Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. We're gonna do a little chit chat Q&A session here, answering some of your most asked questions. I asked actually over in the Photo Boss Facebook group. I had a post and I said, if we were just sitting down to coffee, you and I hanging out, what would you ask me? Because that's something I wish I could do, is literally have coffee with you guys, because I find people so interesting. I would just pepper you with questions and I wouldn't even mind if you did the same to me. So these are some questions that I got in response to that. So I'm just gonna go through as many as I can and answer them as fully as possible. And these are gonna be some fun questions. So I'm excited to dive in. Okay, Melanie asks, the plan you set out to achieve 5 years ago, did it all work out in your favor? And I really like this question because it got me thinking and asking myself, what was my plan to like starting out my business? Where did I think everything was going? And do I feel like it happened? And I would say that things probably turned out better than I planned, but differently than I planned. Because when I started this business, I never planned on being a YouTuber and educating photographers, having one-on-one mentor sessions with students like other photographers. And that has enriched my life in such a way that I didn't really know I was missing. So in a way, yes, I would say God has had his hand over everything that's been happening in this business and in my life in ways that I didn't even really realize. But I knew a couple of things. I knew I wanted to work for myself. So I'm seeing like a mental check mark right there. And initially I thought maybe I can do that with photography, right? And I wasn't even like, oh, it has to be photography. I just didn't want to work in an office. The second thing was I want to do something creative. So check in that box right there. And I want to help people. I want to make a difference. And I think that when I think of it that way, yes, it has turned out as well as I would have imagined and better. Nandy says, how did you book your first wedding? Such a good question. And actually a lot of you have asked me this. And I have a couple of videos on this topic. One of them is called, I think it's 6 ways to book your first wedding when you've never shot a wedding before. And I actually have a guide that you can download on this. It's talking about like how to build the right connections, how to build your portfolio, what types of things to focus on and what types of things not to focus on. So definitely check that out. The short answer to this question is I started putting it out there that I wanted to be a wedding photographer before I had ever photographed a wedding, right? So I was photographing couples for free. I was photographing anyone who would let me. Sometimes people would pay me like $50 and I was blown away. I thought it was amazing. And I was just growing my portfolio and I was posting. I was posting before I was good. I was trying hashtags. I was just hustling. And a friend, a kind of distant friend from college that we like knew of each other in college was getting married. And she said, I know that you are starting your business. I would like you to photograph my wedding. What will your prices be? So I made up some prices and I sent them to her and she booked me. And that is how it all began. But I will also say that I did styled shoots and I built my portfolio and I second shot and I was doing all of this simultaneously. So I have a couple more videos about this topic. If you search on my channel, like how I got started in weddings, I have a really long live stream all about this topic. Nadia asks, how many hours a day and how many days a week do you spend working in your photography business? This is a really good question because this obviously has changed a lot now that I'm a mom. Right now my schedule looks like working 2 days a week. I work 8:30 to 3:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then nap times or like squeezing in times every other day. So I have days where I don't do anything business related, and that's totally new for me. Before having Clara, Joy Michelle Photography was my baby. I built her from the ground up and nurtured her and, created this business, right? And I, very truthfully, if I'm being honest with you, I didn't know what it would look like to have a child and then have a business and how that would affect my business. And that has changed. I don't care anymore because Clara is my world and she's the light of my life. And I have discovered that I have a calling to both of those things. I feel called to be a present mother and a business owner. And so I have been able to marry those two things together. It is extremely difficult, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I have found a lot of ways to manage my time really effectively, and some apps and some things that have helped me in my business. So if you wanna hear more about like productivity as a mom, let me know like in the comment section, or give me a thumbs up or something, and I will come back and talk a little more in depth about being a working mom, because I think that there are a lot of you that are interested in this topic, and I would love to talk more about it. Alfredo, this is a good question. This made me think. So what do you want to accomplish with your business in the next 5 years, and how do you think it'll affect your family life? Super good question. It's actually one I ask myself a lot. I tend to think in the future. I tend to think really big picture, how things are gonna affect other aspects of my life, and I'm huge into work-life balance and family coming first. And so I love that someone else like Alfredo is thinking about this as well. I will say that I'm in a pivoting stage of my business. 2020 has made us all pivot. And now with so many less weddings in 2020, I've been able to really focus on the education side of my business. And I love that. Now, am I gonna stop doing weddings right away? Probably not. But I don't know what my business will hold in 5 years. I have so many dreams that are all written down in like my phone. I have some big plans. I don't know where God will take them. I don't know which ones are gonna come to fruition and which ones will not. But just like I mentioned earlier in this video, I wanna work for myself, I wanna make an impact, and I wanna do something creative. And that can take on a lot of different forms. It's a little bit of a vague answer, but I do think about how my business will affect my family. And so I'm working and building and growing and like trying to learn from people who have children so that I can build a business that supports that life, if that makes sense. Boomer asks, what is your biggest tip for an up-and-coming wedding photographer? Oh man, I have a lot of tips for up-and-coming wedding photographers. I actually have a whole video on 7 lessons from 7 years in business that I can link here. And I have another video that was, if I were to start my business today in 2020, what I would focus on. And so I think that's actually gonna help you best. But I'm gonna give you kind of a lame answer and tell you, focus on your craft and being really good at what you're doing. I think sometimes we can get caught up in like running the right Facebook ad, or thinking that we're like one post or piece of gear away from our big break, when really like hard work is what pays off. And so don't be afraid to put in the hard work. And sometimes the hard work means like learning your camera, reading the manual, and learning how to shoot, and spending hours and hours and hours shooting and editing so that you can truly become excellent at your craft. Kirsten says, if you would start your business from scratch with all the knowledge you already have, what do you wish you would have known or done differently, or done right away, wish you would have done? I actually answered this in its own video because I felt like this was such a good question. So I'll link that down below, and I'll link it up in the cards. But I actually have a whole list of answers for this, so definitely go check that out after you finish watching this video. Okay, Allison's question was another good one. How do you balance social life and a business? And how do you decide on how much to book without missing out on your friends' weddings, baby showers, wedding showers, all the things, right? Because as wedding photographers, we work on like the biggest weekends of the year, and especially like nights and weekends. Like it's kind of, it's not the best schedule for having a personal life. So I will give you that. So Allison, you're asking the right question though, because you're already starting to think, how much can I really take on? And that's the beginning of my answer, is to sit down. If you're married, I would sit down with your spouse and ask, how much can we take on? Because when you take on a wedding, your family and your spouse loses you and kind of takes on a wedding for that day as well. And so what I've done is put some boundaries in place where I know how many weddings I can take on, A, in a given year, and then B, in a given month, which is hard because there are certain months that you could shoot Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the whole month, and end up with like 15 weddings just in one month. When I know personally, my cap used to be 3 or 4 weddings for the month, and I've gone over that so many times. But beyond that, it gets very overwhelming and very difficult for me to stay caught up in my editing, caught up with my client experience, and spend time with my family. So the first thing I would say is you have to have a heart-to-heart with yourself and with your family about what you're willing to, how much you're willing to book. The next thing I would tell you is you got to start telling your family and your friends to let you know about things the second they have like an inkling that it's going to happen. My family has learned that I'm often unavailable on the weekends. And so when my brother got married, when they were talking about dates, they let me know right away. They let me know what their 2 dates were for the venue or their tentative dates. And so if you have dear friends that are going to have babies or get married, just let them know that you would love to be there. You don't expect them to change the date for you, but to let you know as soon as possible, because I can block off days on my calendar, and I do frequently block off days, but I have to know about it ahead of time. So it's almost like we have to like train our family members and just have those boundaries ourselves. The other part of this is a social life and balancing a social life. And I think this is a really good question for all entrepreneurs, honestly, for anyone who has a job, because it can be hard to have the demands of work and then your family, your home life, if you're a parent like me, and then also have like a social life. And so what I would say is that you have to get really honest with yourself about how you're spending your time and really make an intentional decision that you're going to focus on a few of your close friends, and you're really going to try to show up for them and check in with them and text them and call them and be there for them and commit to that. And I think that for me, that means I can't do this for everyone. I have a circle of friends, and I know that realistically, I can't go to everything. And so you find your tribe, you find your inner circle, and then you show up for them. And the only way you can show up for them is if you have boundaries in your work life. So a couple things you can do to save you a ton of time in your business and not get wrapped up in your business, making it impossible for you to show up for your friends, is to set up systems, set up processes, pre-write your emails, have an editor, bring on a little bit of help, even if it's a couple of hours a week, like 4 hours a week, paying for a VA or an assistant to come into your business and just help you move some projects forward so that you have breathing room. That's going to save you in your personal life, and it could possibly really save you in your business life as well. So really thinking about this stuff now is so smart. And so I really like this question, Allison. Thank you. Okay, last question. Pam says, when I said, what would you do if we sat down to coffee? She said, I'd ask for a hug. I'd ask you how you are, how your family is, and what do you do when you feel like giving up because you don't have the motivation or you're not getting clients? Such good questions. First of all, I'd give you a hug because it would be so wonderful to meet you, Pam. I've seen your face pop up for years now, and I feel like we know each other. I would give you a hug. I would tell you that it's been a hard year, and then I would ask you how you're doing. But I would say that things are still good, and I still feel blessed, and I still have a lot of good in my life. So I would just let you know how my family is and that kind of thing. And we're good. We're working hard. We're trying to just like power through 2020, right? As everyone is. But I really want to focus on this part of your question where you talk about finding motivation when you're not getting clients and when you feel, what does it say? You just don't have motivation or you feel like giving up. The first thing I will say is I have been there more times than people probably realize. I have had moments where I just want to throw the whole thing away. It's stressful. Every tax season, I feel like I want to quit my business because I don't enjoy that side of things. Or, if there's just like once a year, there's always a moment once a year where it's either overwhelming, discouraging, disheartening, or all of the above. And so first, I think you should just let yourself be upset and take a little breather from your business. I think sometimes we become so like tunnel visioned in like our business that it's important to like come up for air, see people, have coffee with someone, watch a movie, get re-inspired. The other thing I really like to do is there's an exercise that I started doing, and I later realized other people do this and there's like a formal name for it. But I started doing it to encourage myself when I felt like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. This is really difficult. Do I have what it takes? Like all of the like imposter syndrome thoughts. I pulled out a piece of paper, I think it was last year, and I wrote down all the things I had successfully accomplished in my business. I wrote down all the things I had figured out because it felt overwhelming at the time to figure out that next step that I was working on. So by writing down, I designed and launched my own website. I convinced someone to let me photograph their wedding. I got the Couples Choice Award for Wedding Wire. I was published on the front of a magazine. By putting all of this on paper, I'm like, well, dang, okay, like you can figure this out. And that's when I really, focused on that. And instead of trying to figure it out by a certain deadline, I instead said, I'm gonna figure this out, like, period. I will figure this out. I'm not sure how long it's gonna take, but I'll figure this out. So take a breather, take a step away, try to get re-inspired, give yourself grace. Everybody feels this. But then I would also say, like, find someone who can guide you through it, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and your circular thinking in business will keep you right where you're at. And so finding a mentor or a coach or going to a workshop or investing in your education can help you, like, break past that next level where you keep making the same mistakes and you're wondering, like, why is no one booking me? Why is no one inquiring with me? What am I doing wrong? Well, until you get learn something new or get new eyes on your business, you're not gonna figure it out. And that is why I'm such a big proponent of education, because education has been everything for my business. And I cannot overestimate enough to you, or overemphasize is the word, how much education plays a role in getting to the next level. And so if you feel discouraged, I think sometimes it is a matter of, like, finding the answers and finding the right answers. So connect with some people that are really smart, who can guide you through this, and make some investments in yourself. Sometimes that means paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to break through to the next level so that you can go make thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's what it takes in business. These have been such good questions, you guys. If you have more questions, leave them down in the comment section below, and I will do, like, a little rally encore video for this. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.